everybody, this is in case you missed Snapshot this past week. We've been going over the gospel acrostic, and it just means what do we believe as Christians. And we're on the third one, and it's the S this week, and it means sins cannot be removed by good deeds. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, but just to kind of recap where we've been. We talked about last week that sin is kind of like this disease that's inside of us, and sin also is the reason why God won't let us into heaven, because he doesn't want to contaminate heaven, his presence even, with sin. But the awesome thing is he cleans us up through Jesus, and we don't have to deal with that anymore. But here's a Bible verse. You can look it up. It's in Revelations. It's the very last chapter of the Bible, chapter 21. And then there are those little tiny numbers after the big numbers. And it's verses 21 and 25 through 27. So, it says, "The main street of the city was pure gold, translucent as glass. Its gates will never be shut by day, and there won't be any night." Meaning, the gates are never shut. They're open. "They'll bring glory and honor of the nations into the city. Nothing dirty or defiled will get into the city, and no one who defiles or deceives shall enter." That's it. Revelations was written by John, the guy who he was a disciple of Jesus. So he followed Jesus around when he was here on earth. And then he ended up getting exiled, which means kind of kicked out of society and like thrown on an island to live by himself, because he was telling people about Jesus. And he had a dream where he got taken up into heaven. So this is John, a disciple of Jesus, saying what he saw in this vision that he got when he went up to heaven. That the city of God, where he lives, where God lives, where Jesus is so pure, and sun shines all the time, but nothing dirty or defiled can get into it. Meaning anything that has sin can't get in there. Anyone who has sin can't get in there. But remember, Jesus comes to make sure we don't have sin. He takes it away. And he's the only thing. And that's what we're talking about today. In Isaiah, it says this: "We are all infected and impure with sin." And this is the important part that we're really getting to today. It says, this is in Isaiah 64, verse 6. "We are all infected and impure with sin. When we display our righteous deeds," meaning when we do good things, so people like think we're good people, I don't know, "they are nothing but filthy rags to God." When we act like we're good, when we do something nice to like maybe make up for when we did something wrong, like it doesn't mean anything to God. Like that's not what makes him happy if it's just a display of us trying to show that we're good enough. He's not interested in that. He's interested in a relationship with you and him, but he's not interested in you trying to like buy your way. Have you ever had a friend or seen somebody at school that tries to like buy friends? Maybe they like bring cookies to lunch every day, or they like buy gifts for their friends because they have money, but they don't really have that many friends. Like it's kind of like people try and do that with God, right? They're like, if I just do enough good things, like God will like me. But that's not it. Like that's not the issue. God already loves you far more than you can understand. He loved you enough to die for you on a cross. So you don't have to work to get him to love you. He loves you right where you are. So it's kind of silly to fight and work for that. And here's an amazing verse that really explains and gets to the point of it. In Ephesians, which is in the New Testament, it's a letter that Paul wrote to his church. It's Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 and 9. And he says, "God saved you by his own grace when you believed." So grace literally just means it's a free gift, right? Like when you give someone a gift, it's free. And you cannot take credit for this. It's a gift from God. Salvation is not a reward for the good things we have done, so none of us can boast about it. Meaning none of us can be like, look what I did. I got myself saved because I did so many good things. It's not it at all. It's just through what Jesus did. It's just through the grace, the free gift of God, giving us Jesus and having him take the punishment for our sins. And God just wipes the slate clean, doesn't remember our sins anymore. That's amazing, amazing stuff. If you weren't here on Sunday, you missed me doing something kind of stupid, really stupid. We had a big table up there. I had a giant hammer, and I had a glass, and I just smashed the glass with the hammer, and glass went everywhere. It was bad. I cut my knuckle. It was pretty cool. There was blood. It was awesome, right? But It was all to make a point. After I smashed it, thousands of little pieces of glass everywhere, right? And you couldn't pick up all those pieces and put it back together and glue them together enough to make it a glass that held water again. You just couldn't do it. And I did that because I want people to remember that despite our best efforts, we can't patch up our relationship with God. Just like that glass was broken and there was no way that it was going to do what it was supposed to do, what it was made to do in the first place, ever again by our own efforts. Same thing happens with sin. When we have sin, it just messes up our lives, and there's nothing we can do to make ourselves better. There's nothing we can do to restore us to what we once were, what we were created for. The only one who can do that is God. He's the only one who has the power to make us, and he's the only one who can make us right again. And he does, but we can't do it on our own. We're going to talk about that next week on how God helps us. But most people in the world try and solve their own problem with sin, right? Like sometimes you have home remedies that you try for stuff. Like my grandma always used vinegar for everything. Like no matter what was wrong with you, just put vinegar on it, it'll be cool. But um, home remedies don't cure cancer, do they? Like you can't mix a concoction up and then just all of a sudden cure cancer. Like it's just not going to happen. Remember, sin's a disease that kills 100% of the time, and there's no home remedy for it. But the only thing that we can do is go to Jesus, and he's the one who takes care of it, right? And like we talked about before, we can't buy our way back to God. We can't earn our way back. So that's what we talked about this week. Hope you guys are doing awesome. Remember to keep praying for whoever you've been trying to reach and share the gospel with. If you haven't started talking to him yet, talk to him this week. It'll be okay. Just ask him a really simple question like, who do you think God is? Do you think there is a God? Whatever. But if you've been asking them questions, here's the next one to go on to. If you think there is a God, what do you think he wants from you? Like, if there's a God, what does he think about you, about your life? Does it matter? Ask them. Just hear them out. See what they have to say. Speak what you know from your relationship with God into that. And if any questions come up, feel free to ask. Love you guys. You're awesome. God bless.